Thank you. All right, welcome to the March 17th meeting of the Swampscott Zoning Board of Appeals. The first item on our agenda is to approve the past meeting minutes, and we have multiple meeting minutes. Do you have the dates of the different minutes that need to be approved?
March 9th, January.
We have March 9th.
January.
Correct. Oh, correct. So the meeting minutes that were completed and attached were from January 20th and February 3rd. So the most recent meeting minutes are still being finished, but it's from the two meetings before that. So the January meeting and the February special meeting that first week of February.
So can we just get a motion to approve the minutes from January 20th and February 3rd?
Make a motion.
Thank you. Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so those are approved. We're going to move on to petition number 2601, which is 5 Huron Street. And we have, Mark has recused himself from this, so we have the 3 members that you see, and then we have Andy, who is now gone again. No? Is he there?
I think we lost him.
Uh-oh, we lost Andy.
Oh, okay.
There he is. Hi, Andy. Hi, Andy.
Hello. Sorry about that.
No, that's all right. We're just starting.
Slightly challenged.
Yeah, no problem. We're just starting petition 2601, which is to create a to add a second unit to a single-family house. They're asking for a Section 6 special permit related to parking, a special permit related to screening, landscape screening, a special permit which is a variation of the floodplain, and site plan special permit, which you did last week through the planning department. All right. So would you like to begin, Mr.
Thank you.
Secretary?
For the record, Attorney Kenneth Schutzer, I'm here on behalf of Anthony Velardi. Mr. Velardi is to my left, to your right. He's the owner of 5 Huron Street. He's owned the property for almost 2 years. As you know, it's in the A4 zoning district, which permits multiple units. So just sort of going through very, very briefly and just giving a little bit of background. We've been working on this project now for almost the 2 years, but as I said to the planning board, it's an expensive undertaking between getting the services of the surveyor and the architect and myself. But we're now ready to present. We presented before the planning board. I am advised that you've received a copy of their favorable decision on the site plan special permit application. We will similarly be going before the Historical Commission because since the structure, albeit old and somewhat in need of repair, is over 75 years old and therefore technically requires a hearing. So we'll be going before them after we're assuming that we're successful in front of this board. The house is currently a one-family, and it's designed. The architecture is called bungalow, and I guess the word itself is very descriptive. So it's a very, very small home in that portion of Swampscott, right on the Lynn line that allows multifamily. And at this point, it's one of the very few one-families in an area that has multifamilies in that area. We are asking for a lateral increase in the dimension of the house. In other words, we're not increasing the footprint. We're just adding a second story and an attic, so it'll be more consistent. It'll be a 2.5-story structure as opposed to the bungalow, which it currently is configured. As far as the issue with regard to the parking spaces, I believe you received, I know there was a request, it was in the original package, but they had asked that we delineate with some coloration the areas where the parking is. Those spaces currently exist. Those are spaces that are behind the home. Those are the two spaces that are currently in use. The reason,
Can I just, a quick question, are they paved spaces? Is it,
One is paved, so the one on the left there on the board is paved. The one in the back behind the deck is grass.
so these are the spaces that are currently being used. There is a requirement of one space per unit, so theoretically, the relief that is being sought is only being sought in the event that you did not like the scheme that was presented, and then give you an alternative and say, well, we only like one space, but we're going to waive the requirement for the second.
are we supposed to have 1.5 spaces
No,
per unit?
no, for one and two family, it's only one space per
Only one
unit.
space?
So they have the adequate parking scheme now, but rather than not address it, I incorporated it in the application on the theory that if it were to come up, we would be able to discuss it. Third is landscaping. You know, once again, there's not going to be any change in the existing landscaping because the footprint of the home doesn't change. So the landscaping that's currently in existence, and what I did do for you is I provide you with some photographs in the package of what the current landscaping in the home looks like, so you get a sense. So the landscaping plan is what currently exists. And the fourth issue is, and this came up at the 11th hour, FEMA changed their floodplain map, and they incorporated, for some reason, this area in the floodplain. It's clearly nowhere near any rivers, bodies of water, or the Atlantic Ocean for that matter. But I gather on certain rare occasions, none of which have occurred within the last 2 years since Mr. Velardi has been there, that there's been some ponding. So I had an option. I could appeal to FEMA and say, I think you've made an error, or I could come to this board and explain the situation. We provided for you a flood zone analysis, which was done by Mr. Velardi, which I'd ask you to look at, which describes the area, describes the issues that are presented that have to be addressed. I would also anecdotally tell you that we had met with the building commissioner as well as Chris McCaw in advance of the filing of the application, and they were the ones that brought to my attention that the FEMA map had just changed and it included, of all streets, Huron in that flood zone. We explained the situation. Once again, the theory was, and this is why it's being done this way, that the application is only for the shell. It's for the exterior. So that's what's going to be done at this time. Later on, when money is available, and it's a financing contingency as well, we'll be able to then go back and receive the additional funds for the construction loan to do the interior of the second level, which would be the second unit.
Just quick on that, because I spoke to Rich today about this, because I had some questions about the FEMA floodplain and things like that. And he said that, and I know you spoke to him as well, so I think there was some confusion. He said that you can't pull a permit for a second unit that doesn't end with an occupancy permit for that unit. So your permit can't be to add a unit and only do a shell when you're not actually adding the unit.
At this point, it will not be ready for an occupancy permit, but the permit can be for the exterior, which is the way that we explained it when we had provided to him our plan. So what we're doing is we want a permit for the use, going through all of these issues, because ultimately, when we then go back for more funding, we have to be able to provide them with evidence that it's been approved for the second unit, because that's going to derive the rental income to allow us to get the financing. So we're going through the gyrations. I think everyone understands what's being done, and we're doing it in a way that was consistent with everyone understanding, so there's no sleight of hand what's being done. There are no homes that would, let me digress, and I've gone through this with you before, would theoretically require, if all the work was done, which we couldn't afford to do anyway, under a single permit, that the construction work would be more than 51% of the assessed value of the current structure. theoretically, that would require under FEMA's flood zone, a requirement that the entire house be jacked up.
Yeah,
A whole new foundation. It's financially
I'd
impossible.
like to say that.
It's financially impossible to do that. You'd never get the funding to do any of the work. It's just, you'd never get the money back. So if in fact that were the situation, which it isn't, because through the auspices and the good graces of the building department, we've had this discussion, their suggestion was that we do it in a phased way. From your perspective, we're asking for the exterior. The interior work, which will come later, will be after we get the sign-off on the work that's been done. Not an occupancy permit, but a sign-off on the work that's been done. We're not looking for an occupancy permit until the place can be occupied. We'll have bathrooms, we'll have plumbing, we'll have utilities in the second floor. This was once again explained to the planning board.
Yeah,
So
so
that was conceptually what we're,
But the permit you want to pull, what you're telling us, the permit that you're looking to get and then what you're getting a special permit is for a second unit,
yeah,
not for a second story
no,
that's on a single-family
no,
house.
this is the miscommunication. We don't need from you a use permit. We by right can have a second unit in there.
Yeah,
The issue that comes to play theoretically would be under the Bellalta, which is the extension of the pre-existing non-conforming going laterally up, not being any closer to the exterior dimensionally. So I decided to address it at this point because what we're doing is we're putting exterior walls on that building. We're going up. And therefore, technically, I think we needed to address Bellalta, and I think technically we needed a finding. So I included that in the section under 2273B.
yeah, so that portion, the Bellalta portion in the finding is very clear.
So
that's-
I don't
I
need,
don't have a lot of questions on that. The questions that I have are, everything that you've presented to us is a special permit for, and I understand that the use is as of right, but it's to build a second unit. And so the permit will be to build a second unit.
no, the permit at this point doesn't require, I guess if we reframe, no pun intended, if we re-identify, I don't need your permission to build a second unit. I need your permission to do the lateral. Theoretically, if I had this as a single family, forget the issue of the two-family, just a single-family structure that was now going to be 2 stories.
But it's not.
That's
But
what
it's
we're,
not.
that's
It's not.
that's
This is-
theoretically, and then, at some later point, we decided we wanted to bifurcate this into 2 units. We could do that, so long as we had the necessary egress. That would be, and that wouldn't even come before the Board of Appeals, because we have the right to have a second unit. Generally, what we find ourselves is when we go from a second to a third, we need to get a special permit, we're asking for relief. That's not technically what's being done here.
I understand that you do not need you do not need a use special permit.
Right.
But what you are doing is converting a single-family home into a two-family home.
No, I'm telling you what we're planning on doing, but no, we're not actually doing that. We're just extending
That's your
because of the
intention.
exterior, we're just going up so we can put those walls and the new roof in. Then we're gonna go back for the remainder of the financing, because
So that
now,
you can get it assessed at a higher value.
Right.
So that then when you do convert it to a two-family, you
Right.
have less than 50% of the
correct,
cost.
that's
But
correct.
that is
There's 2 parts.
a
There's
skirting
that part.
it's a little bit of a skirting of the,
Oh, it's not a skirting at all. It's, as a matter of fact, conceptually, and this is what was done on Humphrey Street, exactly what was done on Humphrey Street.
Humphrey Street was different because Humphrey Street renovated the existing building and then built their addition outside the floodplain. They raised the addition.
Right,
So they
but,
built-
but,
they-
but,
they
but
converted the-
because that was on an area that had not yet been built on. It was new construction
Correct.
over a non-existent foundation. Therefore, the new foundation had to meet the criteria. The original building, which was extended laterally, did not.
Correct.
Correct.
They didn't have to raise the front of the building.
No.
But they renovated the front of the building
Correct.
in 2 stages. And I understand the stages, but the stage was a completed project and then an addition onto that completed project, as opposed to a framing and then just basically, it is different in the sense that it was a livable, occupiable building when it was finished, and the front footprint didn't change, and then an addition was put on. This is something where we're creating a large addition. It wasn't even that the footprint of the front house didn't change. Nothing changed for the exterior. They didn't build up either. And then once that project was done.
They pushed the building up.
The rear of the building had to be elevated.
No, the front as well, that went up. That was, they changed the roof line.
They changed the roof line a little bit. I guess my concern with this is that this is sort of a way to get around the
I just
floodplain
want,
requirements.
when you say it that way, it almost gives the sense, I made a point of having this discussion with the building commissioner and Krista McCaw before the application was even submitted.
Yeah.
And it was agreed that this would be an appropriate vehicle to do it, because it was the building commissioner's position that he felt very uncomfortable enforcing that this whole house, no, he said that's ludicrous.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, it didn't. And he said, because I'm the one who suggested, I said, what about, and that came to me from the prior building inspector, who said this is what they're doing in order to accomplish the technical requirements under FEMA. Short of in this particular case, because it's so dramatic, going to FEMA and saying, we think you made a mistake in the flood zone map, because this is truly not an area that's prone to excessive flooding. That would be an expense that could not be incurred by my client.
Right. No, I agree that raising the building doesn't seem like a very feasible or wise investment.
But I take exception to the suggestion of trying to go around. We did this as directly and as forthright as we possibly could. I made this abundantly clear to everyone. This was what we were doing.
Oh,
Okay,
I'm
maybe I
not
misconstrued.
suggesting I'm not suggesting that you are doing this secretly. You're doing it very openly for everyone to see that this is a stepped process to avoid meeting the requirements of the floodplain by doing this in a stepped way. And it's something that I wasn't super comfortable when it was done the other time, but at least it was in a way where there was a full completed building permit that actually completed the units in the front of the building, and then the second step was elevated outside of the floodplain.
What is that other property?
That's a property on Humphrey Street. It's where Big Blue Bargains used to be.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I was literally showing one today.
So, does anybody else have any questions about the way this is put together, or, I'm wondering if it's just, it's the fact that it is a 2-family, and that permit, when I talked to the building inspector, he's like, you can't pull a permit to make something into a 2-family.
I'm not pulling a permit for the use yet, because I'm not putting a second family in there yet. I'm just looking for a building permit that requires zoning relief, or maybe it doesn't even require, but it needed clarification. This is not one of the ones that I wanted to apply and then take exception to the building inspector. It was their suggestion to me that because of the change in the FEMA map, the best approach would be to come before the board, to have the dialogue, which we're having tonight.
Hey, Heather?
Yeah?
I mean, it seems to me that we should just go along, build your second story, do that, come back another time, and apply for the second unit.
Yeah, but.
As
the
opposed
reality is
to-
He doesn't need relief from us for the second unit, because the second unit, he can.
Right, I understand that.
Permit. Yeah, so the reality is, I guess that's the situation, that what you need
It's like even if-
from us, you need is a parking relief for the second, for this. So if you weren't asking for the parking relief, and you weren't asking for all these other things, you were just asking to build,
I wanted to come forth before the board in case any questions came up later on that we met all the criteria. There's some ambiguity here. You could take the position on the parking that when this house was built, there was no requirement for off-street parking. It didn't exist in the zoning bylaw. The first zoning came into town, there was no requirement. Therefore, there was zero parking that was required off-street. By putting in an additional unit, you would then be required to have the one space. We already have 2 spaces, which is what the requirement is, but I wanted to go over the parking scheme with you so you would know what it is, and therefore it would be being shown, and therefore if an investor going into funding this through a lender would see that all of the steps were taken, all the Ts were crossed, all the Is were dotted, and that's what we're doing.
But can I jump in for
Yeah.
a second? I'm sorry. It seems like, and Ken, you're being super forthright, and you're walking us all the way through what we're doing, but you're still really, unfortunately, based on the law, ask us to be a part of, I don't know, duplicitous isn't the right word, be a part of circumventing the FEMA law, as absurd as the whole thing is. And that's the problem. You know, just because we say it's so doesn't mean it's okay. If someone wanted to challenge this, they'll they could turn around. Just because the building inspector gives you a permit doesn't mean that permit's any good if someone wants to challenge it. And it looks nicer if we say, okay, but if someone's really bent on challenging this, they're saying, wait a minute, you couldn't do this. You did this to avoid the 51% and having to raise the foundation. The guy's stuck. You're taking a chance that if somebody doesn't like this project, that their council looks at what's happened and says, you can't do that.
That's not exactly correct. There's a 20-day appeal period. If during the 20-day appeal period nobody appeals, then the permit is valid. We were willing to take and undergo this process because we believed in it. We were supported by it. There's no other home. There's no other requirement. It's not an area that's prone to flooding. There's been no flooding there as far as Mr. Velardi knows, and therefore we feel very comfortable. We're willing to undertake that risk if you see it as a risk. We don't. We've made a point of going through this with all the necessary parties, all of the boards. We have one more board to go through after this, which is historical. I mean, otherwise, this project can't take place. There's no way that now every home that's now been redesignated that does any major work, which is not substantial because substantial is the 51%, would now fall under this. And that's not new. We're not reinventing. This is an approach that has been taken by other building inspectors in other towns. It was actually Mr. Casper was the one who first brought this to my attention when I had a question about the house on Puritan and the work that was being done there. You recall that one on 53 Puritan. He said, it's being done under this approach, and this is okay. And that's where I learned about it. And it went from Mr. Casper to the then building inspector, and now Rich Baldacci.
All right.
And so
Okay.
this is...
Hang on, Ken. Andy?
I got another question. Yeah. So Heather, I mean, just to clarify the zoning, in single or two-family houses where you don't need that third parking unit, you can have tandem spaces are acceptable, or no? You really can't have a tandem space, so the car that's on the grass isn't really a legitimate space either.
Yeah, it really only has one space, and they need 2. So they're asking for relief on that as well.
Well,
He's showing 2, but
But
the second one isn't legit.
But the second one isn't legit. Yeah, it would only count when it's tandem like that. It would count as if you had 2 single spaces and one of them, and then a third tandem for 2 units. You'd say, oh, that third space is a real space because it goes with the one that's blocking. The 2 cars are blocking each other. But when they're those are just 2 spaces for 1 unit. They can't be used for 2 different units because they're blocking each other.
You could
Right.
take the position, which is what I told you was an alternative position, which that the first unit didn't need any off-street. So we're just adding one space with the additional unit, which is now the one space. Because there was no
Ah,
parking
okay.
requirement in 1924, when this house was built.
Right, but right now, you just told me that these are the two spaces we're
These are,
currently
right, this is what we're
Yeah,
using. We're
yeah.
using,
So
these
there
two
are
spaces are currently being used, and they work fine. I'm telling you that too. That's somewhat anecdotal
one-
from Mr.
one-
Velardi's position, as opposed to Mr. Rose. I'm telling you, that's how they use it, and it works fine.
Right, with one person living there, with not two separate
No,
families.
but right now, there's two cars that are being parked there. Doesn't necessarily mean that the person who's gonna rent it understands that there may be no parking available, and you have the right to waive it, if in fact that's a concern. I mean, all of this is important that you understand that there's a certain amount of flexibility, there's not this rigidity, and it gives us two ways of approaching it. One is, you don't even need another space, because it's grandfathered with no spaces, where if we add one unit, then we have to put in one space.
Yeah, I don't think this is grandfathered once you add another unit, and there is a space there, so we can't pretend that space doesn't exist.
No.
I think this is a situation where we'd have to decide as a board, are we willing to waive the requirement for
Okay.
the two spaces and say that one space is enough? And that would be where, I think, that would be, that the need for housing outweighs the parking requirements in our bylaw, and then that would be the,
Well,
that would be what someone would.
it's obviously, it's very close to the train station, which makes the placement of this home more attractive to somebody who doesn't own a car.
So, okay.
Hey, Heather,
Yeah.
Heather, I would rather not waive the need for the parking space. I'd rather say okay on the tandem aspect, because once you waive that, you're setting a precedent down the road where you may not want to be doing that. You got to look at what
Yeah. No,
we're
that's-
saying here, But I think really Ken can say what he wants, and I think he's been very upfront, and everybody's trying to help him. But what he's really saying is, just give me the permit, and the 20 days goes by, I'm in the clear, and I'm willing to live with that. And so we either like this, and I have no problem with what he's doing. I mean, it's this little bungalow, he wants to add a second story. We can't even object to that if he wanted to do it as a single-family home. Huron Street's got plenty of two families there. It's just, we're kind of a party to a little bit of a sleight of hand.
Right, if it wasn't in the
Not-
flood zone, you wouldn't think, and you were doing it all as one permit, you wouldn't.
Right.
You wouldn't think.
Right, if there was no
think
flood
it's a great
zone issue,
project
this would
to
be
add this second unit.
This would be nothing.
Yeah,
It's just we are openly circumventing the floodplain because of the absurdity that the floodplain thinks it's there.
yeah.
Well,
So one other question for the landscape screening. What relief do you need there? That's the other thing.
I didn't technically,
I didn't
but
think you did either, but I just wanna know if you thought you did.
I have a theory. I'll ask for it. If you don't think I require it, then we can waive it.
No, because
If
I
I
think
don't
that's
ask
only
for it,
for
therefore
large
it isn't
units.
advertised, and therefore I theoretically have to come back and amend my application.
Yeah. Okay, so that you don't need. You need the parking if you're building a two-family, but if you're building a two-family, now you're going back to that you're definitely circumventing this process.
I'm sorry, I hate the word circumventing. This is an approach.
I'm not saying you're doing it in a sneaky way. I'm saying you are doing this two-step.
Can you
process. It doesn't have to be sneaky.
Circumventing.
No,
Yeah. You're doing a two-step process to avoid raising the house out of the floodplain, which we understand that you want to avoid because it's cost prohibitive. Unfortunately for us, it can't be a factor. Like
Well,
that,
I'm
and
not-
you know that.
I'm telling you the way it is. I'm telling you that this way of doing it is acceptable. It is. It's been done. It's done all the time. I can tell you that. It's not.
Can you supplement the record with examples? Because I don't know what you're talking about. I just learned about whatever this Humphrey Street thing is. I don't feel comfortable sitting here with anybody telling me this happens all the time when I've never seen this.
Well, it was brought to, I'm telling you, and this is anecdotally, I'm telling you that Max Casper explained this process to me when they did Puritan Road.
That was our former building commissioner.
Yep.
And that was the way it's done. Because these type of isolated homes in areas that have been designated, no rehabilitation could ever be done on these homes. It just become impossible.
Okay,
So this is, the word approach sounds better to me than circumventing. To me, the word circumventing means that I'm trying to avoid confronting it. That's the last thing I'm trying to do. That's not why I'm here. I'm here to present to you an alternative way of approaching this, and that's
Right.
what I'm trying to
no,
do.
I understand what you're doing, and the reason what it is it's circumventing the need to raise the house.
Oh, okay,
Is that good?
right, that's.
Circumventing the need to raise the house. So we're not saying you're circumventing,
Semantics.
yeah, so I think, right now, we only have 4 voters, and you're probably gonna want 5. I think you need to bring us some examples, maybe outside of Swampscott, where this is the pathway forward to get out of the floodplain.
You know something, Ms.
I think I need to talk a little more to
you know,
Rich about the reality of.
I think is a good idea. If you feel that somehow, the way I'm explaining to you, the process that we're undergoing is is being somewhat circumspect, that's your prerogative, and I'm more than willing to continue it and agree to that. If in fact you take Mr. Rose's position, which is somehow this is an attempt to circumvent, then I don't care, everybody in the world could be stealing, and it doesn't make it right, if that's the way you view it.
No,
So-
I don't, to circumvent, we're saying it's to circumvent raising the building.
Right.
We're not saying that it's circumventing.
And that's what I'm saying too, Ken.
That's
Don't,
exactly
I'm
what
saying
Andy
the
said.
same thing.
You're
I'm not saying
circumventing the
anything
need to
different.
raise the building.
Right,
And you're
I'm
doing this
giving-
two-step process to do
I would use the word.
Is that two-step process, has that two-step process been codified in multiple examples of very similar type projects in multiple towns?
It's not been codified. I would never use the word codified. It's been allowed. And maybe it's been allowed for the same reason that I'm asking you to do it, because it makes sense. Because
But, yeah, but-
if you, no, Mr. Ross,
Yeah.
if you construe everything, then the way it's in this bylaw, then you have little or no authority. It doesn't, I think you have that authority. I think you can look outside the proverbial box when you view these. That's what I'm asking you to do.
Right.
And that's what other building inspectors who have made similar determinations. Let me
I
see if we can
understand.
spin it a different way.
But here, hang on a second.
Yeah.
A lot of this, unfortunately, this goes well beyond the Swampscott zoning bylaw. Most of this portion is dictated by FEMA. It's not dictated by this in state law.
Well,
Even
it's-
if you need a variant, if you want to vary from the floodplain rule, you have to appeal to the state to do it. We aren't even allowed to do it.
No, I understand.
So this is we have only the jurisdiction we have.
I'll tell you, some of that jurisdiction is jurisdiction of the building commissioner. I'm not putting the building commissioner in the position of doing it that way, because generally, oftentimes what happens is that the application for the building has a valuation, and that's a valuation which is pretty arbitrary. You know, what is it going to cost me to build out this? And if that number is such, the building commissioner can say, fine. And that's oftentimes the way it's done. I don't want to put the building commissioner in that position, because that's what they do. You know, when they go, and you pull a permit, it costs you X number of dollars for the amount of the construction, and you don't think for a minute that everybody's telling you exactly what it's going to cost. It's always a little bit less. I'm not asking, because the building commissioner has 100% authority to decide whether the dollar amount that I'm presenting is
Okay.
correct.
We're getting
All
off
right,
topic
hang on.
here.
Yeah.
Ken,
Yeah,
we're
Andy-
getting off topic here. Look, the bottom line is, you're asking us to look at the end game and make this determination. We see why you're doing it. We don't have a problem why you're doing it. I don't think, I'm saying my position is, of course, this should be a two-family. If it wants to, of course, this is silly, but we're stuck with this unlucky change in FEMA. I would feel more comfortable. I'm not saying I'm not going forward with this, but I would feel more comfortable if, instead of us trusting you, you trusting us, for lack of a better word, where we say, okay, you can have your permit to go up and build your addition it's still a single-family home, and then when you're done with that, come back to us sometime, tomorrow, another time, and say, gee, will you waive the parking and let me, so I can do the two-family, and, yeah, and do it that way, as opposed to, you're asking us to give you this thing in the future, and I'm not saying I wouldn't, but I'm saying, you're asking us to give you the thing in the future, but we're blatantly, circumventing, FEMA. I mean, that's the bottom line here. No matter who wants to help you out, and everybody does, I think that's what we're doing.
What's your hesitation in doing what?
But my conscience is
I have
clear.
no
I don't
hesitation.
care.
I think that's, if in fact you're more comfortable with that, we'll be back. We'll come back after we do that, and we'll then go through the formal process of asking for a two-family. And then
So
we'll
meaning
address.
come back with a plan that is just to do the framing of this house.
I'm sorry.
You mean come back with something that doesn't say you're building a two-family, come back with something that is building the framing of a second story on a single-family house.
No,
Pull a permit for that.
we'll waive it.
Heather, I have no problem letting him say he waives his right to a second
Right.
I let him clean up his permit like he wants to drop, stuff that he didn't have to put in there. He said, okay, look, let's just give me a vote to let me have my Bellalta, whatever it is. Let me have my extension, and yeah, that.
Yeah, the Bellalta is, I know, we haven't even discussed this, but I see this as kind of a classic Bellalta, where they're not changing the footprint at all, they're going upwards, they're not increasing the nonconformity, so for me, that is classic, and that,
The intention to.
If I'm now going to,
Bigger single family.
yes, with the extension and to be honest, without the parking requirement, the uses are sort of irrelevant to us, because it's so if that's what if you're looking for relief on Bellalta, that we can provide. But the rest of it, I would say, you'd have to come back.
I'm not sure, I heard what Mr. Rose said, and I'm not sure that, are you concurring with Mr. Rose, or are you going?
I guess I'm
disagreeing with
agreeing
Mr.
that the
Rose?
relief you could get today through us would be the Bellalta relief, the Section 6 special permit. That it's actually would even be a Section 6 finding, it wouldn't even be a special permit, that you would need.
But you would have to couple that, though, with the variation of the floodplain, because it's construction. You can't bifurcate those two, they're hand in hand. What I'm not asking.
Well, it wouldn't be, would it be a variation? It would just be, I don't think it would be a variation on the floodplain. I think it would be called something different.
Yeah, but I'm fine giving, anything related to not saying that you're gonna turn it into a two-family house and spend $1 gazillion more, and you're trying to beat the 51%, I'm fine with.
Right, well, I'm fine with what Mr. Rose said then.
But I'm just one person on the
Yeah,
board.
because anything if you want to if you're asking for the variation, you need to, from the floodplain, you need to appeal to the state building. So what you're asking for is,
Because maybe you never come back, Ken, for a two-family. Maybe he hits a lottery on his way home and says, I'm gonna keep it as a single-family home. Who knows what happens tomorrow?
You gotta buy a lottery ticket first, I think, though.
All right.
yeah, this just says the town of Swampscott requires a permit for all proposed construction or other development in the floodplain overlay district, including new construction or changes to existing building placement. So it does not say, it is not to vary, because once you're varying, you need to go to the state.
This is not something you go before the state, the State Building Code Board of Appeals deals with the construction. We're not.
What did you say?
I'm saying, repeating, following up on what you said you could appeal, the only appeal that you would be taking, if you were taking one, would be an appeal to FEMA. You're not appealing to the state building code, because we're not asking for a variation in the construction of the project.
Okay, well, what you listed on here was that you're asking for variation of floodplain wetland
Under
protection overlay district under
4280.
4280.
Right.
4280
Right.
is variation to building code floodplain standards. All requests for variations to the building code must be made to the Massachusetts State Building Code Appeals Board.
So 4280, in the most recent floodplain update, I believe the variation by special permit was struck from our zoning bylaw.
Right. And now it says variation to building code floodplain standards. All requests for variance to the building code
Yep.
must be made to the Massachusetts State Building Code Appeals Board.
But you're not making any, Ken.
But you're not, so that's
This
fine.
is like a moot,
Okay.
you don't need
So
this.
what we're under is 4241, which is permit requirements, and it just says that the town of Swampscott requires a permit, it actually doesn't even say a special permit, for all proposed construction or other development in, so that's just your permit.
I would say this, in the interest of candor, the issue of seeking that floodplain variation was a suggestion made by the building commissioner when I met with him. I want to make sure that everyone understands exactly what occurred. I was unaware that this particular street had been redesignated. It happened like a month or so before the application went in. He was the one who suggested.
I understand, so I understand kind of so basically what it is, as far as the building commissioner is concerned, you can pull your permit for your framed structure that is part of your single-family house.
Okay.
And the only way that you would need, and they just need to verify that that's less than 50% of the cost, and that happens in the permitting process,
Right.
not in a special permit process. That happens through the building commissioner. So he's the one who make that determination that your construction costs are less than 50% of the value. And so I think from this board, what you can get from us is a Section 6 special permit. And if you want to come back when you decide you're going to convert this into a two-family home, you can come back and ask for the parking requirement.
Is that your understanding, Krista?
And come back after he gets a nice new assessment too, and so you're in the clear. Or don't, maybe you never come back. You say you're coming back, but you might not, so just,
I wouldn't miss
let's
the
take this and go.
Yes, I think from this board at this time, with the information we have, the Section 6, and it would be a finding under Bellalta that you are not.
So at that point, we wouldn't require any relief for parking. Did you make the determination with regard to screening?
Screening, you would,
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's not.
if you're not building a two-family home,
If we're just going up, I didn't think
to be honest,
screening.
you don't need the screening anyway. You don't need the screening because you don't have enough units, so the screening's
Okay,
moot
okay.
anyway.
So fine.
And if we're taking the two-family,
Can you make a finding then that screening, under the circumstances, we're not required to do any additional screening? I don't think the fact that you're one or two changes the screening. Just the project alone, if you said that the screening plan that was shown is adequate, then I'm fine. I just didn't want to come back.
So they're just as per the plans.
As per the
Look,
plan.
you'll slip it in when you write the decision, Ken. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
no, honestly, I don't want to give any waivers that you're not getting, that you're not entitled to or don't need, because if things.
Well, can you make a finding I don't need the
So,
requirement? I mean,
So you said you
I'm a
need.
belt and suspenders person. If I don't need
I'm
it,
telling you. What you asked for was general landscaping screening requirement
Right.
waived under 3340.
Right.
3340 is the waiver portion of the 3300 landscape screening requirements. And it specifically talks about screening requirements and basically for property lines between non-residential and residential uses, which this is a residential use. Off-street parking facilities containing 6 or more spaces, you don't have even 2, we're
Right.
unsure of, and refuse disposal dumpsters, which you don't have any dumpsters proposed. So I'm not going to say you're waived from any screening because you don't need that waiver. If you put a dumpster out there, you're gonna have to screen it.
Okay,
So I don't wanna
All right.
waive something,
so you don't think that we have to even address
if
the
you,
screening?
if you somehow squeeze 6 spaces back there, you're gonna have to screen
No,
it, you're not
but-
getting a
but-
waiver.
Okay, we've had the discussion.
Okay,
We're-
let's
We would
go.
love to do, but at this point, you don't think screening is even necessary?
No.
Okay, fine.
So, what we should do is, rather than continue, you would rather have the finding, on the section 6 special permit.
Can we I feel uncomfortable without
Yeah, sorry,
walking away from this issue of the floodplain. I want some clarification. I thought the building commissioner had indicated to me that I needed, now, if I only needed to address it because I was going to be using it now, or requesting to be using it now as a two-family, and that's what he told, when we initiated the conversation, I thought that was what the sticking point was. I think we at least have to address, because the project, even as a one-family expansion, with the framing, isn't gonna change the use, and therefore, the only permit we're requesting would be for the exterior, because that's all we could afford anyway. And it's gonna be less than the 51%, then we should be fine. Is that your,
Suzanne.
She's going to
Oh,
bathroom.
okay, all right, we just have to wait.
well, I
She
can
needs to be-
wait.
Yeah, we just have to wait.
It's a commercial break.
Yeah. Under, 2.6. It never says special. It's always just using it anywhere in this, where it says special.
I mean, I'll look again, but
I just wanna make sure you haven't said something that I missed. Mention variances and mention building permits, not a special permit. What's happening? Okay. So,
We're back on the record?
we're back on, yes. So, in looking through the floodplain permitting, there's instructions on how, if you need to vary, and then everything else is just a building permit. It never mentions where you would have a special permit based on that. So it's the building permit from the commissioner, and he's the one who's in charge of making sure that all of these things are met, is your permit. It's not the zoning board.
That's fine with me.
Okay.
I just thought, from my initial discussion with the building commissioner and our senior town planner, that I had to file for a section 4.2.8.0 floodplain. So, and for that reason, that was the reason they said I should be here tonight, was for that. But if you think otherwise, that's fine as well. And this is the board that's ultimately going to make the final decision.
Right.
The only other aspect, and this is outside of your jurisdiction, will be the building commissioner, and that will be based upon the application now is a single family with the work that we want to do, which is just adding the exterior shell, and the fact that the exterior shell will be less than 51% of the assessed value of the real estate. So that, we'll do it that way.
Correct. The building commissioner is the enforcer for the.
Well, he's also the
overlay district.
gatekeeper of the building permit. And
Right.
he's the one who is in charge of fulfilling the obligations under the FEMA flood zone map. And so, yes.
Right. So, and if for some reason he reaches out and sends you back here, I am sure that, like, they would, and you had to resubmit for that, for something that we're not giving you, I'm sure that they would waive the fee for coming back to this meeting again if it's a mistake that we made. But I don't believe that you definitely haven't presented information for a variation, and we can't provide a variation, which is what's checked, and then the next would be special permit, which there is no method for giving a special permit in this section of the bylaw, only a building permit, which would be through.
It's kind of ironic, maybe that's something the planning board should pick up on in terms of refining its own zoning bylaw because of the way it's construed by both the board, myself, and the building commissioner, because
Right.
I was just following his lead.
Yeah, no, and I think that some of it is because this is a lot of stuff that's been pulled down from state level code as opposed to, and it's all been rewritten relatively recently. All right, so I would ask that someone make a motion for a section 6 finding.
I'll do that.
Okay.
Before we
Oh,
get
yeah.
there, my question was, we've gone through so many different things here. What are we actually being asked to do? Because what it sounds like to me is what we're being asked to do is inconsistent with the documents we have in front of us. And so are we creating a record that demonstrates, and I hate to use the language that everybody hates, but the circumventing of FEMA, like, I know that's not what's happening here, but I'm looking at a page in here that says floor plans, new unit 2, this application folder talks about it being a two-family.
But the only relief that, assuming you're going to grant the relief that I hear, it's only going to be the relief for the limited purpose of providing the one family,
Right.
not the two family.
Right,
But that's
the motion,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
the motion,
showing
the-
a
So I'll cover
It's
that.
like-
That-
It's like I can ask,
Hang on, Ken.
Oh.
So that often happens. Sometimes people will have like very elaborate plans and where they, let's say, like there's things that get changed and moved in the process. And then it's the decision and the wording in the decision. So we're saying we're not giving you the parking. We're not basically giving you any of the two-family. We're only saying that if the structure stays within the footprint of the current structure, it falls under Bellalta, and we can
Which is
find
allowed
that
to
that's,
Which is allowed to do as well.
that
Okay.
you're allowed. There won't be anything to say as built in the plans, because the plans show something that's not even being built, because it shows all the walls, it shows all the bedrooms, and, it shows
right,
full.
well, right. That's the full, at the end of the day, what ultimately we would like to see. But the application was only asking itself for the exterior shell. That's all. And at this point, we are withdrawing that portion of the application that in any way addresses the second unit as a second freestanding, separate, viable unit.
All right.
Bless you.
And, bless you, and if you could include that, because you're gonna draft the decision, if you could include the withdrawal of all the other requests in your draft
Right.
decision, that'd be great.
I'll also indicate that there was dialogue, we had this discussion. As a result of that, we have now withdrawn that portion to be consistent with our application, which is now for the single-family extension of the exterior walls going vertically.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, and Andy wants to make the motion?
I'm happy to, because Ken's gonna write the decision that we're gonna provide the applicant with a section 6 finding allow him to permit the vertical extension and in construction consistent with Bellalta, and he will withdraw all other portions of, his application.
Which is
We're
inconsistent.
not granting,
Which is
we're
inconsistent.
not,
Inconsistent.
right, we're not granting relief for any of that.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and Andy's an
Aye.
All
Yep.
right. All right, thank you. So you have the, you'll have your relief for the section 6 finding.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know if you're better off after me going second. I think, just the vacuum in the room will probably do you well. Here, this will make it easier. Thank you.
So we're going to move on to petition number 2603.
Good luck.
And-
Thank you.
Which is 56 Puritan Road. And my understanding is that Susan needs to be off of this one.
Yeah.
Okay, but Mark is back on. Yay.
So that leaves us only with 4, Heather?
Mark is back on, yeah, so we still have 4, so if you can hang on until, and this, have you looked at this one?
Yep, I was there when he was here before, yeah.
Or wait, he wasn't here
This is-
before.
this is
So this is a
something
different building,
It's-
right?
Oh, this is a different one, okay, yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
read this thing, I mistakenly,
It's
because
across
I
the
saw
street from the other
petitioner.
one.
So is it
Yeah,
across the street? I mistakenly thought it was that one at first, too.
I couldn't find a
Right,
path
I
to
mean,
the
just,
other one.
I was going by the petitioner, so I thought it was the same one, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but
I did
yes.
the same thing, Andy, until I looked at it online.
Okay, so.
Okay, I got dinner reservations at 8:15, so let's giddy up.
Let's, okay.
So it's approved, is that what you're saying? We just go?
No,
All right.
that can be denied just as,
All right, so quickly, do you want to just explain what your?
Yes.
Your project?
As you can see, the existing, if you're looking at the renderings, the existing has a side entrance on the right of the building that goes in right now, and I'm looking for relief to be able to put the entrance in the front of the building. Primarily, the main reason for me is there's, to the right of there, right now, 1 car fits in there. It's wide enough where you can't fit 2 cars, and parking is always an issue over there. So I'm trying to put a front door here, make it look like it's been there and kind of fits in with the existing building, so I can pick up that space on the right-hand side for parking, because parking is really a big issue down there for me, especially because I have the 55 Puritan as well across the street. That's going to be a while before I get that going. But I really need the parking. With this weather we've had too, it's even crazier.
Is that garage yours, or
That garage is mine too, yeah.
does it go with?
It goes with the other building,
To the.
to
right?
58, yes, which I own that building as well.
So are you looking for that parking in front of that garage to be for 56 and 53?
Right now, that's what we're doing now anyway, but only 1 car fits in there. So I just like to have it wider so I can fit 2 cars. Even when people are turning on that street, they pull in there. Even if you're visiting, it's very difficult. There's just no parking there.
Oh, yeah.
So
No, I think that makes sense. I think that's actually a good solution. And
can
we
we
have.
go back to the elevation for a second?
Yeah,
So you're the abutter.
Yes,
yeah.
I'm okay with it. I'm cool with it.
So the only thing
Hey,
we talked
Heather.
about is proposed B with the overhang.
Yeah, I
created
like them
non-
both, but, you know,
Conformity, so it would have to go with A, which didn't have that overhang, that's the only.
can I make a comment?
Yeah.
Just the single window on this first floor is killing me. You know, it's like, wouldn't it look better if there were like two of them, just like they were, but, you know,
I can't really fit two because what happens is, I mean, I could, but I don't think it's gonna really make it look any better if I squish them together, because I tried that. I kind
It's
of.
almost like I'd rather have it in the middle, you know, centered. But if nobody cares, I'm just looking at it and it doesn't bother me, but that's
Maybe a
okay.
bigger window, would that work? Why can't?
It's two separate units there?
Yeah, no, the second door goes up, and, I mean.
And you got the stairs inside blocking the
Yeah.
hell out of it or something.
Yeah, I mean, anything can be done, but at a,
I agree, a second window would look better.
What's that, Mark?
I agree with you, Andy, that a second window would give it a little symmetry and.
So you can put a second window in and have it be a false window? I mean, I hate to make you spend more money, but, you know, just put the window in and go right by it on the inside, sheetrock it, put a shade inside and call it a day.
I wouldn't do a fake window, personally. I mean,
Removing the shutters from the bottom window would help.
I was gonna do that, because that's where it looks claustrophobic, but you can see it's kind of claustrophobic as it is. But I thought about removing the shutters so it doesn't look so tight. And I thought about putting a window there myself, but it doesn't, you know, the window that's there aligns with the window above. That looks nice. I thought about
Yeah, it
putting,
does.
I thought about putting the door in alignment with the window above as well.
Oh,
But in doing the renderings, this version looked nicer where it's symmetrical. But I wouldn't be.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying
I know.
to continue on the symmetry and because
Yeah.
I'm.
I mean,
and
I can
unfortunately,
look
that's-
at a version where I align the top window as it is, like exactly where that window is. I can put the door there.
I don't think you need to move the door. I think it's it's the doors. I mean,
You know,
the two doors left and right look great, look fine. to
if I
me,
put another
but-
window there, it would, for me, it'd have to be a real window. And the issue is, that's the only wall you kind of got left to put a couch, because it's a very small 600 square foot one bed. And that's kind of the only area where it overlaps a little bit on that window. And then he has like a TV on that side, on the opposite side.
maybe sheetrock it.
I don't know.
He's saying,
I know, I don't know. I mean.
Are you doing, like, all the trim work that we're seeing here on proposal A, and are you changing the color of the building as well? Is that?
Eventually I will, yeah. Yeah. I don't like the way it looks now, so eventually I would.
I don't know why I have with a fake window. It's the window's there. It's in the exterior wall, and on the inside, it's sheetrock. You never saw it. It's fine, but that's just I put plenty of them in. But look, I don't want to get lost on this either, you know.
As you
so
said, you have dinner
if nobody
reservations
else,
in 1 minute.
you're late.
right? If nobody
Why
feels
don't
has
we give
any
them the
feeling about.
discretion to do it either way?
Yeah, I actually think taking the shutters off and, I don't know, I think it already looks, it's already an improvement, to be honest, with the actual trim around the door instead of
Yeah,
having no
dressing
trim.
it up a little bit.
And it's already improving, so I'm okay with it. I just definitely would lose the shutters
But we could give them the discretion to put up to 2 windows on that first
on that
floor.
first floor, yeah. if you-
Okay.
Symmetrically, you know, as best you can.
Right, because on the
Or
first
one-
floor, he's only got one side of shutter. That looks terrible too.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's just because of the rendering.
Right, and I will also note that if or when you apply for a demolition permit, it will be triggered for review from the Historical Commission, so they might have some
Yeah,
thoughts
they might have some
on
comments.
the windows as well. So giving some discretion on how that looks might help the process if if the Historical Commission has comments on that also.
Okay, thank you, that's good.
I'm fine with that.
All right, so, and I think when we, and other than that, are people comfortable with the landing as far as it's still not coming out quite as far as the other landing, it's still closer?
Yeah.
So again, does that fall under just a finding?
I think so.
I would say that falls under a finding, that the new nonconformity is not more detrimental than the, and that it's that you're not creating a new nonconformity. All right. All right, would anybody like to make a motion on this one?
Is anybody else up for it?
I'm out.
Oh, yeah.
I'll fumble through it.
Yeah, you can do it. You should do it.
All right, I can help you if, I don't trust either one of us.
I mean, I'm happy to draft it, happy to fumble through it.
Yeah. We'll look it over for you.
So on petition 2603, seeking is a special permit. No, it's a section 6 finding,
Section
right?
6 finding, yeah.
Section 6 finding.
Under Bellalta.
Under Bellalta, where the pre-existing nonconformity, the extension of that is not
Being increased.
being increased, does not, is it?
Is not more
Is not more detrimentally, detrimental to the neighborhood than the current condition.
Do you have a second?
And do you want to give discretion to have up to 2 windows on that first floor, looking for them to be symmetrical, or as maybe required by the historic district?
Sure, with the
Historical Commission.
Excuse me. I always get
It's all, I always get those confused.
with the condition that the applicant has some discretion to put up to 2 symmetrical windows on the first floor, with the potential input of the Swampscott Historical Commission.
Excellent.
How's that?
I'll second that.
And the one other thing is that we're talking about proposed A,
Proposed A on the,
rather than B.
proposed A on the
Submitted,
renderings
yeah.
submitted by the applicant with the application.
Excellent.
Okay, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Andy's aye. All right. Thank you so much.
great.
Thank you.
Good luck.
He's gonna be late for the 8:15, I'm sorry.
Yep,
All
thanks,
right.
it's okay.
Motion to adjourn.
So
Thanks,
moved.
guys.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
I'll second it.
Aye. All right.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Take
Yeah,
care.
bye.